Hi, welcome to Campus France for this new live session dedicated to higher education in France. If you want to come and study film and television in France, you're at the right place. I'm very pleased to welcome EICAR. During this live session, you will get insights and explanation to the workings of the student experience at EICAR through a joint presentation between faculty and alumni. Discover the English language filmmaking programs proposed by EICAR, the practical nature of the curriculum and pedagogical components, but also life after EICAR in the transition between training and working in the international film and television sector. You can start asking us all of your questions, and I'm very pleased to welcome John McNulty, International Mission Manager at EICAR. Hi, John.
Hello.
And just in front of you, we are with Carolina Gomez de Llarena, an alumni. Hi.
Hi, how are you, Guillaume?
Thanks. I'm good, thanks. And you?
I'm good.
My first question is really easy. Can you both introduce yourself? Let's start with you, Carolina.
Well, my name is Carolina Gomez de Llarena. I come from Venezuela, and I've been in France already for 8 years and a half. I came to study to EICAR from 2012 to 2014.
And what do you do now?
I am a film director and writer.
Okay. And same question for you, John. No.
My background is in film. I studied at NYU, Tisch School of the Arts, New York University, and then I was an assistant editor. I've been a teacher now for 15 years, but also I'm a screenwriter here in France, writing for television.
Okay. Can you introduce EICAR and tell us more about the school?
Sure. EICAR was founded in the 1970s. It started out as an acting school, and then it quickly became a film school. The international programs started in 2000 and have been going for about 20 years now. And the school welcomes people from all over the world. It has an international focus and a practical focus. So our interest is in giving people real-world training for the industry.
And to know more about the school, we are going to watch a little trailer. That's really impressive. I want to dance, I want to sing, and I want to study at EICAR. John, what can we study at EICAR?
Sure. Well, in the English-speaking international department, we have the Bachelor of Fine Arts program, which is a 3-year program. This is for people who are graduating from high school and are seeking a degree in film. The idea of the Bachelor of Fine Arts is to give you all of the disciplines of filmmaking. You know, we don't believe that you have to choose right away the discipline that you want. That's kind of at the end of the process. But the idea is to give you training in cinematography, in editing, in screenwriting, and directing, producing, all of the skills that you need to be a polyvalent filmmaker. And that's over 3 years. It allows advanced work in all of those subjects, and also a final project where you choose a specialization. For instance, if you want to be an editor, you would edit 3 films for your graduation, screenwriter, write a script. So essentially, it's a polyvalent program. The Master of Fine Arts we offer as well, and that's the program that Carolina did. That's a 2-year program, and it welcomes students with a degree already. And that can be in film, but it could also be in another area. In fact, we welcome students from all different disciplines as long as they have an undergraduate degree. The focus of the master's program is to allow advanced work in all of the different areas of filmmaking, to give you the basics as well in the first 6-7 months, and also to allow you to specialize within the final project as well. So they again, this is the emphasis is on all disciplines of practical filmmaking.
And you also have a one-year program. What is it?
The 1 year is an interesting alternative for people. It's often young people who maybe haven't decided whether film is something they want to pursue and don't necessarily want to have a degree for it, but want to spend 9 months learning the fundamentals, often take the 1 year program to kind of get a taste of film. It allows you to take all of the first year bachelor courses that are the core fundamentals courses and supplement it a little bit with some workshops that might be of interest to you. And at the end, you do make a documentary film, and you also have the privilege of staying. If you have all the credits and you earn good grades, you can stay into the bachelor program for a second year if you have a high school diploma.
And Carolina, what was your background before joining EICAR?
Before joining EICAR, I did a Bachelor in Arts in History of Art for 5 years in Venezuela.
And why did you choose to join EICAR?
Well, I like the fact that it was an international program, that it was a master's. I like the fact that it was in English and in Paris, obviously the City of Lights, with all the history. But yes, mostly it was because of the internationality, the fact that I could exchange with different cultures, the fact that it was in English, because me particularly, I didn't know how to speak French at the beginning. So it was really good to be in a school that could allow me to study in the city I wanted to study in. And offered me all of these tools and this program that was specifically what I was looking for, because I already had an undergrad.
And wasn't it too difficult to be in France and to not speak in French?
Well, at the beginning, I must say that yes, but at the same time, we did have French courses, and it was great to be integrated in the school with other people that were on the same page as me, coming from from other countries. So we kind of created this bond, and the school became like a shelter in a way, but also a trampoline in order to push yourself into the city and discover it. So they gave us all the tools in order to be able to do it. We had like cultural field trips, and that was fun. And very motivated to go to the cinema and many other things. But so we were working, studying, and discovering the city of Paris at the same time.
That's the idea, to be like really in immersion in Paris.
Yeah, I think that one of the appealing aspects of the school is that Paris is such a friendly cinema literate city. It's apart from the pandemic right now, it is a city that still has a host of cinemas. We have the Cinematheque as well that's very popular with the students, and it allows you, as Carolina says, it is kind of scary a little bit to not know French at the beginning and to go to a school, but we do offer the French courses. We also, the fellow students become a kind of guide into the city. There are students who are also very familiar with France in the program that maybe become the de facto guides for the people that are less familiar with the culture. But in general, it is a wonderful culture that's pro-cinema and pro-art in general. So it has the resources that attract a lot of people from around the world.
And what accreditations does the school have?
We are accredited by an international European board called EBES, EABHES, which is a higher education schools board. It is the one that bestows our master and bachelor degree. Our other programs in the school, some have RNCP certification, state certification, but the English language programs up until now, we are working on state certification, but up until now they are certified by EBES.
And we just said that your campus is located in Paris, but you are going to have a new campus in a few months, still in Paris?
Yes. We're happy to keep, obviously, the school in Paris, but we're really excited to announce that we're moving to Port-Ivry, which is in the south of Paris, to a facility that's been totally designed for our needs. So we're going to have over 7,000 square meters of space, new studios, more studios, and 6 floors of classrooms and workspaces and art direction rooms and things like that. So we're really happy and excited to be able to move to that space that's going to be exclusively for us. But during the time that Carolina was at the school, we are currently in La Plaine Saint-Denis, which is a hub for French television. I think 70% of French television is situated out there. There's Boulogne, of course, as well. But we were very happy to profit from the fact that we were close to the industry out there for so many years as well.
And what are the different subjects that are taught in your various programs?
So, in the two programs that are central to the international department, the bachelor and master's, it really is in film. It's filmmaking in general. So, you're not going to get a lot of French literature or English literature courses or anything. It really is exclusively a kind of training program for filmmakers. So, within that scope, though, there's art direction. There's courses in art direction. There's courses in cinematography. There's courses in editing. All of the components that make up the filmmaking craft. So if you're looking as a student for a kind of broad-based liberal arts kind of education, it's not that. It's really a film training school for people who are certain enough to know that filmmaking is something they want to pursue as a career, or even in the one-year program to kind of experiment what is it to be a practical filmmaker.
Carolina, what was your favorite class?
I had plenty, but I guess I really liked the directing classes. Overall, one particular teacher that made us try out all of the genres of film every week. So every week would have like, this week we do comedy, next week we do musical, next week we do horror. And that was exciting because as a director or an aspiring director at the time, like you want to kind of try out everything, see what you like most or not, and which ones you're better or not. And do it with your friends, it's even better. So that was my favorite exercise and class.
What is the division between theory and practice, John?
Well, we pride ourselves in being a practical film school. So 80% of our work is in the studios or in the editing rooms or even in producing. We try to make it more practically oriented. So 80% practical, 20% theoretical. But the theoretical is also important. We have French, which as much as possible, we also try to make practical in the sense that you're learning French film terms and try to have dialogues inside the language classes. But we also have film history, which is a really key important part of the education that we don't neglect. And we have a contemporary cinema class as well, where you can look at individual directors. But it's always with the eye of trying to train people for a career as a filmmaker. Yeah.
If you're joining us, you can keep on asking your questions on the chat. I will answer them, and we will answer them here in the studio. Are the teachers, John, working in the industry?
Yes. One of the pillars of the department is to insist that all of our faculty are current in the industry so that they can impart the newest technological advances, what's happening in the industry. They can also be anecdotic about their other lives working in cinema as cinematographers or working editors or things. We have an editing teacher, for instance, who was involved in the creation of Final Cut Pro, the editing software. So it's very important to us that all of our faculty have a hand in the industry, a current position in the industry in order to impart the latest advances to our students. Yeah.
And what technical equipment do you have?
Well, we have everything from, obviously the world has become a far less film place for technology and much more digital. So over the years, we have invested over 250,000 euros a year in keeping our equipment up to date. And that includes everything from, we have an Alexa now, which is the kind of top of the line camera for single camera direction TV shows. We have several RED cameras that are also used on television shows and things, all the way down to to working on a Canon, Mach 3 or something with lenses and things to be able to give the students the first taste of their film experience. So we have also grip electric equipment, dolly tracks and dolly equipment, as well as sound equipment for the students. Yeah.
Carolina, you had the opportunity to do a lot of school projects. What is the project that you preferred of all of the projects you did?
I had to do, well, I didn't have to. You had the option of doing a personal project, so I took it. And I did a video clip. and I did it with all of my classmates. We were behind and in front of the scene, like it was like a moving plateau, a moving set. So that was really, I guess, my favorite exercise.
Is it necessary for the future students to invest in their own equipments?
No, it's not. Obviously, the fact of owning even a still camera is always kind of helpful, even in high school for young people. I think we're at an age now where technology becomes much more affordable and available. But in practical terms, once you enter the school, there is really kind of no need to own your own camera because you have access to the equipment to do the exercises, to do your final films, to do all of the work that you need to do. Owning a hard drive, for instance, is good because you can save all your footage to a hard drive. Little basic things where you can take the information home with you is good, but as far as owning your own camera, I think that's kind of, or lights, it's all provided by the school. Maybe a printer to print out your scripts. That's kind of a helpful thing, I think.
And how are the courses organized with the health situation? Because it's a practical school.
Sure.
But then you can come.
Obviously, like a lot of schools, we've had to adapt enormously in the last 9 months to the pandemic. What we've done is we've made all of our courses are 80% practical but what we've done is we've taken the courses that we can transfer to online or Zoom where possible. So writing has become Zoom, some aspects of directing, but cinematography is still at the school, but in very reduced numbers with mask protocols, with COVID protocols. It's also important for us to also impart that this is going to be our lives going forward, living with pandemics. So one thing we've tried to instigate is a workshop with COVID protocols, so that students now have lessons in set protocol dealing with COVID, like how many people need to be on set, how many people, the wipe down of the camera before use, the wipe down of the lenses before use. All of this now becomes part of our protocol. So the answer is we've tried to maintain a practical element in cinematography while going mostly Zoom with the other courses.
Before talking about admission, and you can keep on asking us all the questions you have, we are going to watch some testimonies of international students, and we will be back just after that.
I'm from Brittany, but I was raised in the Bahamas and Shanghai.
I'm French.
I'm from Bogota, Colombia.
Ecuador.
United States.
Venezuela.
Israel. Canada. Turkey and Germany.
A big percentage of your master is being in Paris. The city, Paris, and the artistic environment and the film environment can be a lot of what you learn.
It feels good to be here in Paris because you feel that it's a city that has a lot of shootings going on.
The part about EICAR was just dealing with people from other countries and just working with them and seeing from their point of view how they perceive things.
Because I speak French, looking at all the other schools in Paris, I was like, yeah, but it's like all theory and that's not really my thing. So I really appreciated being able to visit, seeing the magasin and seeing that people check out and go to studios and shoot. And I was like, okay, well, that's it. That's what I want.
John, what are the different steps to apply to the school?
Well, it's fairly simple. The first step is going to our site and clicking on Apply Now, which puts you in touch with an admissions team member who then gives you the application via email. And really, in the English-speaking programs, it's all done through that exchange. We ask for a few key documents as part of the application: a letter of motivation, which is usually a 3-page kind of essay explaining your goals as a filmmaker, your background, and also what you're interested in a little bit, so that we have subjects for the interview. That's also part of the process that I'll talk about. And then we have a letter of recommendation. A lot of people worry, does the letter of recommendation have to be from someone in the film world? It doesn't. It could be a teacher. It could be someone you've worked with that is able to appraise your qualities. It's a transcript showing your grades of your latest grades. Now, I know in the pandemic, a lot of people don't have their final transcripts yet, but oftentimes they show us their most recent one, and then the acceptance might be contingent on them getting the final grades and the diploma later in September. We ask for a portfolio sample, And this is, I think, a very important part of the process because it doesn't have to be film. It could be short films. A lot of people send links to short films that they've made, but it also can be photos. It can be a piece of writing that shows your point of view, just something to talk about in the interview. And then there's an interview that we schedule, which is a Skype interview, not only to assess a little bit of your ease at the English language, but also to talk about your goals as a filmmaker, to talk about your work. It's very interesting, I think, in the interview situation to be able to look at a few photos or have read the short story of the person before and be able to really talk about what's their point of view, what do they want to make movies about.
But it means that you need to have a creative background before joining the school. You can come and don't have this background.
Yeah, you don't have to have had, for instance, in the masters, you don't necessarily have had to have a Bachelor of Arts before. You could have a Bachelor of Science. And in fact, there are many filmmakers, I think Christopher Nolan, Kubrick, had a science background before. So you just have to have evidence that you're curious, that you're interested in subjects, and also that you have your letter of motivation and portfolio sample shows that you have something to say. So it doesn't necessarily have to follow that you have an education prior that's filmic or artistic, but you have to have evidence in your portfolio.
Carolina, what did you put in your portfolio?
Well, since I did a history of art bachelor, I did a workshop right before I applied to EICAR because I knew that I needed a portfolio. So I did a small workshop, a summer workshop, and that was enough material to send to the school. But I do agree with John that you do not need to have a creative background, like Denis Villeneuve as well. He studied science before. Yeah. It's all about being creative, watching lots of films, understanding the films, watching the behind the scenes, it's educate your eye as much as possible. Just be passionate and curious. And then, of course, you have to show something. So any local film workshop you can find in your country, do it. And also so you can test yourself and see if you like it or not. And then that's it.
Or still photos or a writing sample, because not everyone has done a short film. But I find photos fascinating if someone has a photo collection.
And what is the schedule to apply?
We open admissions in November. We start every year in late September, and we open admissions usually in the beginning of November, and we carry through until the end of June. Sometimes that's extended a little bit, but sometimes we fill up. So it's on a rolling basis, but it usually lasts until the end of June. Yeah.
And when you don't have previous professional experience, you might don't know how the movie and the audiovisual world work. How do you know if you are able to work in this field?
That's a really good question. And I think one of the reasons people sometimes do the one-year program is they're not sure yet and they want to know what filmmaking actually entails. Sometimes that's a hard question, and sometimes it takes a little bit of educational experience to know if film is something that you want to pursue. I think that because, first of all, I think the majority of our candidates know enough about film or have watched enough films to have more than a passing curiosity. It's something that's lingering in their spirit and that they want to at least commit to a one-year program or a degree program. But I think because you have a need to express yourself, you have a need to go into a kind of creative film like film that involves all the 7 arts together. I think that, but also it can be a need that is ultimately tested by the film school experience, in the sense that you go to a film school and you realize, man, I didn't know film was so much carrying things. This seems to be all about carrying things in filmmaking. And then you realize that there's a part of the craft that's very, very there's a part that's technical, there's a part that's artistic, and there's a part that's very much involved with communication and teamwork.
So there is the admission process, and then you have the student life. How do you help students with all the administrative formalities that you can have when you come here in France?
We do our best. We have a small department, so there's about 100 international students in total in any one year, a little less in these days. We have a welcome desk, which is now been implemented to be able to answer questions when students have it. We've compiled a big sort of Bible-like book of everything that we've experienced in the past with French life, from names of doctors that speak English in Paris to pharmacies, and how things work. We have also a residence that's being built next to our new campus, so that's going to facilitate being able for students to be able to take advantage of living right next to the school, which might for the first year be very advantageous. As far as visas, obviously they often go through Campus France to be able to book their visa appointments, and we guide them through the process as much as we can. Obviously, we don't have a control over visas, but we can guide them through the process with Campus France to be able to advise on visas. And just this welcome desk is really there in advance of them coming to kind of really answer their questions. But I think ultimately the real test is being on the ground and being here in Paris and figuring it out. Also in the 2 weeks prior to start of school is usually the busiest time for our students and the most scary time, because they arrive in Paris and they don't speak much French, and they have to get a residence and they have to get situated and stuff. And so we are there with the welcome desk to try to answer their questions during that period. Yeah.
Carolina, what were your fears before joining the school?
Well, we were talking about integration before. I guess it was really just the fact that I didn't know French and I didn't know the city much, and that this was a brand new career for me. But in the end, it all turned out well, because I was lucky enough to have a great class. I had immediate chemistry with my classmates, and the school was very welcoming and very instructive. We had a guidebook with all the things we needed to do. If we needed to go to the doctor, what kind of doctor, psychiatrist, whatever. And I just felt like it was very warm, the way that I was welcomed in the school. And it just made it much more easy to discover the city with the school and my classmates. It gave us a sense of belonging as we discovered it together. So, yeah.
And now you're still in touch with your...
Oh, yeah, we talk every day.
Okay, so that's that's really good. Isn't it too hard to find an accommodation in Paris? How was it for you?
Well, I was lucky because I already had a place to stay when I arrived here, but I know that with my friends, the school helped them a lot, helped them to find apartments, roommates through their network. So I know that a priori, like before they arrived to Paris, they were already being guided through to get their accommodations. So, yes.
One of the biggest challenges is finding a residence in Paris. And we try to advise the fact that a lot of landlords insist that students have guarantors in France, or some kind of financial guarantor, which makes sometimes it hard if they don't actually have a bank account yet in France and everything. So the biggest hurdle for a lot of people is, if they don't know anybody in France, is to be able to find some way of assuring the landlord, that you're here to stay and everything. But we try to guide through that. We have some history with certain residences that have been that know us, and also this new residence should help a little bit with that challenge. But you're right in bringing it up that sometimes it is one of the biggest challenges.
And how much does it cost to study at EICAR?
The programs have different prices. The master is now 19,950 euros a year. The bachelor is 14,450 a year, and the 1 year is 15,950 euros a year.
And is it possible to have scholarships?
We do now offer scholarships, but in the second year. What we do is we look at the progress of the class, we look at people's progress, and we give up to 30%, bursaries in the second year of the bachelor and master's to help people finish that demonstrate financial need. But it's not in the first year, because we're not able to really assess the student yet. So we do offer it in the second year.
Let's talk now about your links with the professional world. Do you have partnerships with companies, media, film director?
Yes. We have several avenues that we developed to try and foster relationships with the industry. One is our internship department. Now, for international students, sometimes that can be a bit frustrating because they don't know French yet, and all of our contacts in Paris, obviously, are insistent on a francophone level or a knowledge of French that allows them to work these internships. So we have an internship department, and we do have internships for international students, but they have to do it usually at the end of their experience when A, their French is good enough, and B, we're able to help them in the sense that they know more about what they want to study to orient them toward the right company. So we have relationships with companies. We have France Télévision, France 3, France 2. There have been internships across the board in France at sometimes local production companies and even lighting houses for people who want to be cinematographers. But we need them to know a degree of French first. That's the first avenue. The second avenue is just through the sense that every year at the French Cinematheque, we invite people from the industry to judge the films who are members of in an international filmmaking jury. And oftentimes they have been very prominent filmmakers who have judged the film. So we make an effort to try and get the films out there through the French Cinematheque screenings. We also have guest lecture series where we invite people from distribution agents in France to come and talk to the students. So we try to facilitate wherever possible a spirit of networking, which is very important.
Can you tell us about the professional experiences you had the opportunity to have thanks to the school?
Yes, well, thanks to the school, my first internship was finalizing the master's studies. I worked in a National Geographic show for like 2 weeks, so it was in English. And that was good. It was a good bridge towards the following experiences I had. I also had another internship, 5 months in production, even though it's not my specialty, but I did that. It was interesting. And yes, I guess I had all the tools because even though I was majoring in directing, the idea was to learn everything as much as possible of all the departments. If anything, that's what's great about the second part of the yearly, the school year, is that we have production period where we need to test other roles, other positions in filmmaking, and that makes you understand a bit more, have a wider range of an idea of how film works, and you get to test your skills. You get to make mistakes and not get fired. And that's all really good because when you are already out there looking, you already know more or less what you want, and you can offer much more things to your future bosses.
And I think what you're saying is very important, is that right after school, you're not going to be given directing jobs right away or writing jobs. What you have to do is get the training in other areas to really keep yourself afloat while you're trying to set up projects and meet people to be able to do that ultimate goal.
The fact that I knew about production, the fact that I knew about editing, the fact that I knew about all of these things, camera work, like gave me other job opportunities. And eventually I got to work on my own directing projects, but it's important to know everything.
What did you do after the school? Can you describe the different opportunities you have just after?
Yes, I mostly did production, still do. I also did photography. I did event photography for a while. I also did editing and motion graphics. And today I'm writing a video game.
Okay. So that's really a lot of different things in different areas. That the idea with the school is to develop and to have the opportunity to work one day in the production, the other day in the music platform.
Yeah. Because what we're seeing in the industry is more and more people are looking for polyvalent filmmakers who are able to not necessarily in the world of film, but in the world of internet, in the world of producing content, all this kind of stuff, even journalism sometimes. You're asked to shoot, edit, and produce a piece for an employer and be able to be good at all of those jobs and to deliver the product. So it's very important to be polyvalent because, as I mentioned before, you're not going to be direct, even if you want to be a director, you're not going to be directing maybe right out of the gate. What you need to do is have other skills to keep yourself in the business while you're trying to make things happen as a director. Yeah.
And what are the different job opportunities for the bachelor's degree and then for the master's degree?
Well, I think after a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree or even a Master of Fine Arts, the idea is that at the end you are knowledgeable in all the practical aspects of filmmaking. So essentially filmmaking is is the broad word for really a lot of different industries now. We have the world of television and series production. We have still the kind of more dinosaur of theatrical film exhibition. We have internet content. We have a demand for visuals in all these different sectors now. As businesses are becoming more and more visual to communicate, I think there's more and more demand for people who are self-sufficient filmmakers who are able to deliver a visual kind of product. So a degree in filmmaking, practical filmmaking, prepares you for that world of maybe working in journalism. We've had students, former alumni, go into journalism and serve as camera people, you know, or working on France 24, for instance.
YouTube.
Yeah, and it's important to be able to be polyvalent, to be able to keep afloat, and to deliver those kind of products for a variety of different sectors now. It's not just film and television. It's a whole audio-visual industry that people are counting on people who know editing software, color correction, how to light something to make it look good, all of this kind of skills. Yeah.
We have some questions from the chat. Thanks a lot, and you can keep on asking your questions. Is it possible for people who already have a professional experience to join the school?
It is, with the caveat that I would assume that person maybe has completed an undergraduate degree and you know, maybe is working in the industry. The thing is, for the master's degree, you need to have an undergraduate degree. It's just sort of no getting around it. Even though you might have been working in the industry for 16 years and be in your 30s or something like that, you need to have the undergraduate degree to do the master's. But we do see people taking the masters who maybe want to change direction. Maybe they're Steadicam operators or something that want to be directors, and so they're going back to school to kind of retrain and sell themselves as something else in the industry. But yes, we have had many people who have done film for a number of years before, but it's not a prerequisite. It's not a deal breaker.
And we have a question maybe for you, Carolina. How is the integration between French and international students?
We share a few classes together, and we've been able to do also like producing for a client, meaning that we do we join forces and we make an ad for a client, which is great. And yeah, and we share the studios, we share the equipment, so there's a lot of communication and collaboration between the students.
We sometimes think that the movie or television industry is a really small world where there is not a lot of opportunities for people who want to join it, and you have to know somebody in order to get a job. How is it for your students? First question, is it true or not? Is it like a small world where nobody can go? And how is it for your students?
There's a truth in that. First of all, it is maybe more. I mean, I wouldn't say that all industries are not about connections and networking. I would say that there's not an industry in the world that isn't kind of has one foot in that. But you're right in saying that it's not like law or maybe business where if you go to a top school, then companies are recruiting you. No companies are coming to get film students in film schools. It doesn't exist. In fact, you are breaking down the door to try and meet people to go into the sector rather than the sector coming to you. The sector doesn't come to anybody. It doesn't need it, you know. So you're right in saying that it is a sector that's very valued and that a lot of people want to be in. But that being said, I think that the sector is also changing from when I was a student. The industry used to be about theatrical exhibition, and the goal was to kind of, as a film student, to kind of get your direct to film that's in the movie theaters. Now, with the advent of streaming and Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and all of these, the demand for content is creating more and more jobs. Maybe people are being paid a little less, but there's starting to be more demand for content, which is opening up, I think, opportunities all around the world, especially because these content providers are making local French product. Netflix is making its own French product now. Netflix is making India. So there's a lot of, I think, opportunities that are expanding. But you're right in saying that it continues to be an industry that revolves around networking, which makes film school, I think, that's where the caveat of film school becomes important. Because in 10 years, the people that are going to give you the jobs is not necessarily the degree on your resume, but in the people that you went to school with, who now are in positions of power to be able to try and help you. So it is about networking, perhaps more than any other industry, and it is tough. But I think one thing that a school can do is train you and help you get the alumni and the people around you that are going to help you in that struggle. But if you're asking me, is it the same as the business world if you go to a top school where you're recruited? No. No one is coming to film schools. Paramount Pictures is not knocking on UCLA or EICAR's door to inquire about directors that might be available. Yeah.
And are you sometimes honest with some students when they say, I want to be a director, and can you tell them regarding your work, the way and the look you have on the movie production, you can be a director, you can be this, but you won't be a director?
That's a super interesting question. It's a brutal question, but one thing that you find, obviously Carolina maybe can be witness to, in the first year of film school, you say, who wants to be a director? And almost everyone raises their hands. And I remember an anecdote when I was in film school. Everyone raised their hand, and then the professor said, now everyone put your hand down except one person. Okay, that's the ratio of who's going to be a director and everything. So there is a sense that I think it's important as a faculty member to be honest, to say what you think, and also to have the caveat that no one knows anything, and it's just my opinion. So if I tell you that I think, okay, well, we're in year 2 or year 3 now, and I really haven't seen a real signature from you or a real kind of voice, maybe you should be a cinematographer, or I've seen more producing acumen from you. That could be an honest conversation that I can have. But I could also have the caveat that when I went to film school, the people that I thought were going to really make it didn't, and the people that did, are the top now. So I also think that it's important to say that it's my subjective opinion, but this is as a result of my teaching experience or industry experience. This is what I think, but also it's just one opinion, and also you can be wrong. But I think it's important also to be honest, to say after a couple years, maybe you're a producer, I see you more as an editor. I think that's an important conversation.
We have.
Sorry, Karen, do you have anything to add?
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
No.
Yeah. I've seen through my colleagues. I mean, I was clear on what I wanted, and in the end it was my thing. But I had colleagues in my class that they didn't know they wanted to be directors, and then they tried it and they really liked it. So it's all about testing as well. As I said before, it's good that we have this production period time where we get to test all the roles. And even if you're a producer that you try directing, I mean, who knows, I think that's what's interesting. And editors also, because editors are storytellers too. So I often saw editors that became directors at the end of the program.
And do you have class about the new media, for instance, today, knowing how to do a TikTok video, and a really a good TikTok video could be something really interesting for the professional world. Do you adapt your classes with all this new technology?
That's a very interesting question. Now, regarding sort of the new media content, that's a separate part of the question. But the first part of the question, we're adapting to technology all the time. So the fact that we're a private school means that we can adapt our workshops every year. So I remember 3 or 4 years ago, everyone said, oh, 3D, you must teach 3D because everything's going to be in 3D. Everyone was converting their movies to 3D. So we had a 3D workshop. Now, not so many people are talking about 3D anymore, especially with theatrical exhibition going down with the pandemic. So we're able to adapt technologically. Now, as far as formatting, I believe that storytelling is storytelling. And if you do a 2-minute short, a 5-minute short, a 30-second TikTok video, it's true that I'm not very familiar with TikTok. From what I understand, it's sort of these sort of GIFs or little kind of moments of lives on loops. So in a sense, I think that we're teaching storytelling at the end of the day, and we're teaching visual communication. So you should be able to do a TikTok video, I think, and once you understand the parameters. But there's no sort of course. But there is an attention to new kind of formats of television, for instance. The fact that you can tell a web series in episodes of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or an episode of 5 minutes, and then you see an episode of 30 minutes on a kind of web series. That's an interesting way of talking about structure on a big term. But as far as storytelling, it is kind of, at the end of the day, all about storytelling, and whether we train you to do it in a short form and a long form. And once you understand that, you can adapt to all of these new content.
We have a question coming from the chat from Somrita. What is the percentage of people with a professional background in your school?
On the faculty level or on the student level? Well, I'll answer both. On our faculty member level, we insist that everyone has a foot in the industry. So they're writers, they're cinematographers, and everything. For students, as I said before, it's not really necessary that you have a film background or that you've studied film prior to coming. We have some people like that, but we also have people that are coming from anthropology or psychology or something like that. So it's varied.
And from an international point of view, what is your school's ranking?
Well, in film schools, it's kind of hard because either you're going through a ranking of Hollywood Reporter, I think, does every year a list of top schools. On some of the websites, we are always in the top 10, you know, when somebody does filmschool.org and things like that. But a lot of times these are kind of subjective sites. I think the real test is in the alumni. And in our alumni, this year, we've had a Cannes Award winning, in the international department, Sami Morsi won the Cannes Palme d'Or for short film. You know, and we've also, last year, we had Zoe Wittek at Sundance in the international competition. We have Bart Kowalski in Poland, who has a Netflix series in Poland. So our students are our ranking. You know, it's not necessarily in the ranking thing. Although Hollywood Reporter does it. And I think they mostly go to public schools in France, not private schools. So, but if you can find us ranked on the filmscore.org and things like that. Yeah.
What are your dreams for the next years, Carolina? Where do you want to be in maybe 5 years, for instance?
In 5 years, I will be doing my second feature film. Next year, I would like to start pre-producing my feature, but I'm writing it right now. Now I'm preparing my next short film that will be shot in fall here in Brittany, in France. So yeah, it's all like it's a staircase, you know. So ideally, in 5 years, my second feature film.
Let's go to the conclusion now. I will ask you two different exercises for the conclusion. My first question to conclude with you, John. What do you want to say to the parents watching us today who might think that working in the creative industry is not the best choice and maybe it will be complicated for their sons, but they have passionate sons, so they don't know what to answer them. What do you want to tell them?
I think it's a difficult decision. The fact of investing in a film school and choosing film in general is very difficult sometimes for parents to advise. There's no getting around that it's tough, and there's no getting around that perhaps there's industries that are safer or. In this day and age, there's very few industries that are safe. But yeah, there are things that are more safe than maybe film. But I would say that if your son or daughter I always say that a good piece of advice is, do you feel like you can't, that it would be impossible for you to imagine yourself doing anything else? You know, is this something that you really are heart and soul beyond? That's why I think the 1 year sometimes is good to kind of figure out is this something that I really want to devote the rest of my life to? And would I be unhappy doing anything else? Sometimes there's no getting away from this sort of self-satisfaction angle that I'm willing to take the risk because I can't really see myself doing anything else because I really am involved to that level. Sometimes it takes a little study in filmmaking to make that decision. So I think that sometimes doing a workshop or something is a nice way of introducing. It's not a decision to be taken lightly. It is a life pursuit, not just a career. But it is a beautiful, amazing industry and for me, it's kind of the only one. But I think you have to be able to say that at the end of the day. This is the only one for me. And I would be miserable doing anything else. Yeah.
And to conclude with you, Carolina, can you say in your native language some words for the people watching us from all over the world? You can watch this camera to talk to them.
Les recomiendo venir a EICAR. Para mí me cambió la vida. Fue como una casa que me ayudó a descubrir esta.
You have to do it again. You were so passionate that you forget the mic.
Les recomiendo venir a EICAR. A mí me cambió la vida. Fue como una casa que me ayudó a descubrir esta bella ciudad de París, que es la ciudad del cine, y junto a mis colegas que vinieron de todas partes del mundo también fue una gran experiencia conocer sus culturas, conocerlos a ellos, aprender con ellos.
I totally agree. Even if I didn't understand a lot, but that was really interesting. Thanks a lot, John and Carolina, for joining us today, and thanks to you for watching us. See you soon on Campus France.